telephone. Again, you can say a telephone is good or bad because you know what it's supposed to do. It's good if it makes and receives calls, and I guess nowadays texts. And it's bad if it doesn't. It's good if it makes communication happen, and it's bad if, for instance, it's being used to hammer nails into a wall. If you try and use it like that, you'll be going against its purpose, and you will ruin it, and more than likely even damage the wall. So simply put, if our story begins with God, then there are things that must be good for us, and there are things that must be bad for us. And we're not the ones who get to determine that. See, like a phone or any other invention, we get damaged and we even hurt others when we start to operate outside of the purpose for which we've been intended. You see, if there is no God who made us, and no God who gives us a reason for being here, we lose our right to ever say again that anything another person does is wrong. And just think about those implications. Something like pedophilia, it can't be wrong in a worldview where there's no God. Genocide cannot be wrong if there's no God. Terrorism must be permitted. Adultery, slander, abuse, stealing, murder, whatever it is that tears this world apart is perfectly acceptable if there is no God who was before the beginning. Now, some people hear that and they think it sounds pretty good because they think that it gives them this great deal of freedom. They don't like to be tied down. They want their life to be all about them and their pleasure, but it does not bring freedom in the long run. We know it brings absolute turmoil. It brings devastation to relationships. Isak Dinesen wrote in her famous autobiography, Out of Africa, "Proper pride is faith in the idea that God had when he made you." What she was saying was that you are not free unless you know your purpose in this world. Because without that, you are left to nothing more than your fleeting feelings and the feelings of others. Now, you see that happen all the time, whether you recognize it or not. But we live in a culture where decisions about sexuality are rarely made anymore on the basis of what God has made us for. Instead, they are made based on our feelings, which we know change over time. They are made based on our opinions. Just watch TV from the 50s and TV today and see how those opinions about what is acceptable have changed over time. And they are made based on the pressures of others. Most adults, if we really look around at how parenting is done in our society, we'd have to recognize that there's not a whole lot of parenting going on with a purpose. At least God's purpose. The purpose seems to be keeping up with the Joneses and signing up for as many things as we can. If you really want to be free, God says that we have to learn what the purpose he gives us is and then strive for that. So now how can you know that or beyond me just telling you what it is and trusting my word on it? Well, we can know what our purpose in this world is based on our knowledge of what the overriding characteristic of the one who made us is. All through his story and all through history, God tells us that he is love. So that means if God alone was present before the beginning of this earth, then love alone was also present before the beginning of this world. Before God ever exhibited his power to create all that we see and know, he was love. Before the beginning, there was no such thing as selfishness or greed or malice. All there was love. And we learn in the Scriptures that God created us because he wanted a crowning jewel to love. He gave Eve to Adam so that they could be a living picture of his love as they communicated that love to each other. He gives us our friends and our family and all people, and he tells us most of all, love them. That is our purpose in this world, given by the one who made us, to love him and to love others. And you know, like a phone, if it tries to do what it's not designed to do, like hammer in a nail, it's going to get broken and it's going to leave a nasty mark. Well, you know, when we start doing that which we are not designed to do, when we fall short of loving, we drive a dark hole into the heart of this world. So that's why it's very sad to acknowledge that while love preceded power in God's design for his creation, we've made such a mess out of it in today's day and age that it's hard to find a situation where power doesn't stand in front of love. You know, many of you know that our minivan got totaled a couple of weeks ago, and obviously we're okay, and all is well. The only lingering frustration being the need to buy a new vehicle. We finally found one, but my wife kept asking me to look, and I was completely disinterested in the process. I didn't want to do it. I hate buying vehicles. Now, I want to be clear. I know that there are some very decent salesmen out there. Some of you referred me to someone that you know. But in my past experiences, buying a car involves just about every single behavior that is wrong with this world. There can be scheming, and power plays, and lust, and greed, and envy. You get the feeling, no matter how much of a deal you may have gotten, that you still really got duped. The whole ordeal is disguised with pleasantries and very rarely any evidence of love. Now think about the thirst for power that exists all around us in this world, stuff that didn't exist before the beginning. You know, you could not